Everybody, we're here with director Corey Deshon. He has a new film coming out called Daughter. And we're very excited to talk to him about it. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm well, I'm well. Can you tell us a little bit about the film Daughter that you just
Yeah.
directed?
So on the surface, it's a film about a young woman who's kidnapped and inducted into this very strange, very bizarre family and told that in order to survive this situation, she has to live as their surrogate daughter. And as long as she does so, she won't be harmed. But if she rebels against this idea, then she might be met with an uncertain fate. And that is our entry point to the film.
And you also wrote the film too. So can you kind of give us an idea of where this whole story kind of came from? What inspired it?
Yeah, it's quite a few things. I mean, I would say it's equal parts creative curiosity and a practical concern of just the economics of a micro budget film. So
Sure.
when I was at the writing stage, I knew this was something I was writing to make. There wasn't going to be a separate stage of me trying to pitch the script around and find producers and find like, no, this is something that I'm going to make with my friends. We're going to go do it, no matter what. Whether I get $10,000, I'll make a $10,000 version of it. If I get 100,000, I'll make a $100,000 version of it. Whatever. This
Mhm.
film will be made. And so going into designing what the story would become, I needed something that could be contained in one location. On a micro budget, you're not going to be afford to move around a lot and on a relatively tight shoot schedule. And what that means usually is you have to find a creative and fun way to keep characters in a room together.
Yeah.
And we see so many versions of that. For me, and for this to be my first film as a director, I wanted something that would also provide me the landscape to experiment visually in the creative design of it and something that could be as close as I could get to, unique within this space and not, hopefully not too derivative of any other films. And that became the challenge. And it was just about the fun of what could be possible. So Vivian, Ian, and Elise, who played daughter, brother, and mother in the film, they were part of this from day one. I knew going into writing the script, I was writing for these three actors. So a lot of it was, what do I want to see them do? Like, what do I think their strengths are as performers, and how can I push them in interesting ways and get them into roles that they haven't experienced yet in their careers? And then it became a matter of writing this father character around them. Like, who do I want to see them play against, and how do I want to build that into the story? And at that point, I think I knew I wanted to be in the horror thriller genre. I think of all, like, this is one of the most fun to experiment in because you can push the boundaries so far and how weird the storytelling can get or how
Oh, well,
different.
that's yeah, exactly. That's why horror is so much fun. It
Yeah,
can be anything, and you can
exactly.
use it as a strange lens to really push things, like you were saying.
Yeah. And
Um,
that was it. Then we're just kind of finding like, what am I interested in? What am I curious about? What do I think is what's already on my mind at the time, and just building from there.
yeah. So Casper Van Dien comes on. Um, how how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I knew that I wanted to cast against type for the father role. I wanted somebody who the audience was going to come in with a certain expectation of who this actor is and what they were going to do on screen, and I
Mhm.
wanted to take them on a completely different journey with that character. And writing to make something with this little money, you can't really like pick, oh, I want this person or that person. Like, you don't know who's going to say yes to something like this. You're just going to have to take some shots and figure it out. And um, it had turned out that one of our producers, Tracy, her partner Jake had worked with Casper before and brought his name up. Like, yeah, that's a really good idea. Because when we have this image of who Johnny Rico is now, and all this, like yeah, you wouldn't really expect a person like that to do this here. And so we reached out, we sent him the script, and thankfully he really latched onto it. I think it was like the curiosity about it that got it for him. Like, just he really enjoyed reading it. He really enjoyed the deliberateness and how it was written and how that would affect his performance. And I think he was really excited to be challenged by
That's yeah, that's so cool when you actually, especially as an indie filmmaker, when you are like, "Hey, let's take a shot,"
that.
and it actually pays off, you
Yeah,
know.
totally.
Especially for somebody like Casper Van Dien, or I was just speaking with another director that just shot a script off to Monique, and she's like, "Cool, I'm gonna help produce." I was like,
Oh,
"What?"
yeah.
So let's see here. So you as an indie filmmaker, you looked at the project and you said, "Cool, I'm gonna build with what I have." Is that a good bit of advice for other indie filmmakers?
Absolutely. The way I look at it is sort of like you're building around what you can consider to be owned value, and whatever that is. And by that I mean it's something that is a very valuable resource that you have access to that you would otherwise have to pay a lot of money for. For
Mhm.
some people, that is a location. Like you have access to a really cool location, go make something in that location. Or otherwise you'll be spending 10, 20, 30, $50,000 trying to rent that location in a different circumstance, make it with what you have.
Mhm.
For other people, it could be access to equipment. If their friends are in the industry or whatever it is, you make something with what you have. For me, it was the talent of the people around me. It was my friends who co-collaborators on this film, and wanting to stretch themselves in their own careers respectively. Let's make something together. This is the own value. It's like what we can all do, who are each of our personal networks, what we could all reach out to and bring into this film in order to make this possible.
Mhm. And so was horror your first, like, yes, we're going to do a horror film, or were you considering other things?
I think I knew going into it that I didn't want to be um, necessarily, I would say, like locked to a specific genre, but the ability to try like a blend of things. And so for Daughter specifically, what I was interested in was, could there be a synthesis of slow cinema as genre with an American, contemporary horror thriller film? And what would that look like? Like, what if a horror film had the creative design of a worse ethical film or something like that? Like, what could you do in that space? And that became the basis of how I would build the visual element of the film. But it was going into it knowing from day one, like I want to try stuff. I don't necessarily care what box it falls into. Let's just see what happens.
Mhm. And so, striving for mystery, some scares, some tension. Uh, do you think you achieved that in this movie?
I think
Did you
so.
reach your own expectations?
Well, I don't know about that. But, it's weird, because this isn't the end result of this film. Really, isn't the film that I set out to make. But
Mhm.
in a weird way, I think I still hit the same goal. And the goal was that people who liked slow cinema, or who like contemplative films, and who liked horror films could like this, and see the synthesis between the two, and really be encouraged to dive in and explore and try to find what the meaning of the film was, and be rewarded by that deep dive into it.
Mhm.
And from the response that we've gotten so far, I feel like I did achieve that goal, even though I set out on day one to make what would have been a very different film.
Mhm.
Well, it's been this weird feeling that I think because we made it so long ago, we shot in 2019,
Oh,
because I've been sitting with it for so long, I've been able to look at it differently. And I would say I like it more now than I did when I first finished it. Because I've been able to like separate myself from the process of making it and what could have been or anything like that. And now I just kind of get to watch it close to an audience member as I can be with it. And
yeah,
that is,
with a certain sense of detachment
yeah, yeah,
and a different, I guess, less of an expectation and more of an exploration type of it.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know. So I mean, the slow cinema thing worked for Skinamarink. So I
mhm.
mean, there you go. And
Well,
uh,
that's interesting too, because like you'll hear when you set out to make a thriller film, you'll hear a lot about like what it has to be and how it has to deliver and how it has to scare. And I think what the horror filmmakers love about that is that they know it's all bullshit. You can do anything. You can make whatever. It's that other side of like somebody who would be responsible for getting it from the filmmaker to the audience, saying, "Well, no, it's not possible to do that. You can't sell it that way. It'll be unmarketable." And the whole thing that, well, we've seen time and time again different examples of like that concept unmarketable. That's just not true.
no,
It's
it's
just
not.
not true at all.
It's not a thing. The whole idea, both horror and comedy, is surprise. So,
Yeah. And
um,
it's about just finding the right partners, the people who believe in it. And we were fortunate enough to do that with our sales company, with Yellow Veil, with Dark Star here in the US. Like we find people who see what it is we're doing, they get excited about it, and they know how to put it in front of audiences.
mhm. And how was it working with Dark Star Pictures?
It's been great. It's been great. I mean, they were really committed from day one and making sure we can get up on screens and theaters, to getting us a physical media release. It's getting rarer and rarer these days. Like I think they recognize the value in the just the tangible nature of what it is we're doing, shooting on film, the old style, like, and they wanted to present it to the audience that way because they knew it would be important.
So you really shot on film.
Yeah, we shot on 16 millimeter and on uh generations past cameras. Like we weren't even using modern film cameras. We were using
Wow.
I guess the SR3, which I think we started making in '95. Um, because and that was intentional as well. Like I wanted this to not necessarily be something that would be nostalgic for another era, but actually look like it was made in the past decade.
Got
And
it.
if you look at these films, like the cameras move differently, like they're paced differently, the actors move differently within the space. It's just the style of the time. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be cool if we put ourselves in that box? Because no matter what you're doing on a micro budget, whether you're shooting film, like you're going to have your challenges. The film is going to be built in with mistakes, whatever it is. Like, what if we put ourselves in a position to make the mistakes that they would have been making in the '80s, or to have those types of imperfections and those types of challenges imposed on our set? Like, what are we going to do with that? What would that look like? And whatever the result of that is, contribute to what our creative design will be.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Capturing the nuance by jumping into that. And so what's next for you? This is coming out February 10th. So what do you have coming next?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be able to work on a lot of, excuse me, a lot of cool stuff lately. I wrote for a show called The Night Agent that'll be out on Netflix next month. I'm writing for a show, Power Book 2, Ghost Now. It's two completely different things, compared to
Wow.
style of Daughter is. And then also trying to put together my next film. The next thing I want to do is it would be another contained thriller, higher budget, a little bit more of a contemporary type of story, but with the creative design of Daughter. So that'll be the next experiment. Can I take this weird, artsy, experimental, slow take design, apply that to a modern contemporary story, and see what happens?
Excellent. And hopefully another pandemic won't hit. And,
Hopefully, yeah.
I mean,
I'll try not to accidentally predict terrible
don't,
things again. We'll see.
yeah, don't provoke that.
Yeah.
Well, it's Corey, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and congratulations on getting this project out there finally. And everybody, Daughter comes out February 10th, and in digital on demand in theaters February 10th, and then also on DVD May 9th. So Corey, um, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, sir, and best of luck with Daughter. And please come back when you have the next project ready to go.
We'll do. Thanks so much. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
man.